Being a masked YouTuber, I wanted a way that I could live stream and play games, but I just couldn't find the right solution. The only solution that really stood out to me at first was the Meta Quest 3, but, well, yeah. Only when browsing online did I come across Viture. And these just look like sunglasses, right? Well, you're wrong. These are augmented reality glasses. These are the Viture Luma Pro. Now, you may have seen me wearing these in a couple of live streams and I couldn't speak positively enough about them. And in today's video, we're going to go through what these are, what they do, and why I think they change everything. Now, this isn't actually a sponsored video. They did send me these free of charge, but I'm not being paid to say anything. Everything you hear in this video is fully my opinion, and there's nothing that Viture have said to me that I have to say or don't have to say. They've just educated me on the product, and everything you're about to hear is just me using it and my thoughts and opinions. So firstly, let's open the box and have a little look at what we can see inside. We're initially greeted with a little instruction panel that tells us about these nose pads. And these nose pads fit all shapes of nose, and obviously I'm wearing a mask at the moment, but they comfortably sit right on my nose, and there's different sizes, and to be honest, there's a lot of different variation. I do have a weird shaped nose. I actually broke my nose when I was younger, so I have like a bit of a lump in my nose, and to be honest, these have been perfectly comfortable. Then on this panel, we also have some information about how the glasses work. And we'll go through all of that information, but essentially you can just plug them into anything. In fact, right now, I'm looking at the camera, but I'm actually reading my script through the glasses. I'm so stoked about this. And also we can see a bit of information about the refresh rate. So when it comes to gaming, of course, your refresh rate is really important. The frequency in which your screen refreshes its display makes a absolutely huge difference when it comes to how good your gameplay is. If you have a really low refresh rate, you start to see things like artifacts and motion blur. So the screens inside here are actually 120 Hz refresh rate. Now 120 Hz is overkill for what we need. But what this does mean is that you can actually do some pretty intensive gaming on these, and they're probably the most capable. In fact, no, that's not true. They're not probably, they just are the most capable glasses that you can put on your head. Then on the front of the glasses, we have little rotary dials. Now I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So these are little rotary dials on the top that allow you to adjust the focus for each individual eye. And to be honest, when I first put these on, I didn't have these dialed in and I was a bit like confused. I thought, oh, that's not that good. But as soon as you make just a little adjustment, you don't need glasses, like you don't need contacts in. You can watch content through these glasses without any contact lenses in, and it feels like you're in a cinema. Now inside the box, we can actually see the beautiful glasses case. Now this glasses case is actually extremely solid. Like that's me properly squeezing it. It's really rigid. Inside it's lined with this kind of like soft material. So basically you won't get any scuffs or scratches on these glasses. And also the zip on the front, let me just give you a bit of ASMR. That's good. The zip is honestly so high quality, and there's kind of like a little weather strip around the edge. So don't get me wrong, don't throw these into the bottom of the ocean, but if a bit of rain gets on these, it's going to protect your glasses. But inside the big box, let's take a look at the smaller little box. So in here we have the quick start guide, and of course those nose pads that we spoke about earlier, and a hair-friendly cover. Now opening the case, we get our first look at the Viture Luma Pro glasses. And yes, like I said earlier, these just look like glasses. Now they do sit a little bit proud from your face. This is probably a bit more amplified because I'm wearing a mask. Sorry, Viture, these don't look as good on me as they do most people because I'm wearing the mask and everything, but it's not to the point where you feel like you're sat there with a Meta Quest 3 on your head, which by the way, if you do that in public, you're weird. But for all intents and purposes, they look like glasses, and that was the big thing for me. I wanted to live stream, I wanted to look like I'm wearing glasses, and I didn't want it to feel like I was disconnected from you guys as an audience. But obviously my use case for these are very niche, and later in the video we'll talk about some of the absolutely insane stuff that these bad boys can do. Now opening the magnetic compartment at the top, we can get out the USB-C cable that connects to the glasses. This USB-C cable contains an end that connects to your device, which is just your USB side, and the other which magnetically connects to the side of the glasses, to the back of the arm. Now looking at the glasses themselves, the first thing that does stand out to you, when I first got these out of the box, the thing that just stood out to me the most was how little they weigh. These weigh about the same as just like a normal pair of glasses, maybe a little bit more, but not to the point where you feel you have anything on your head. I've sat down for hours at a time and I've not felt any eye strain or fatigue, which we'll talk about that as well, but I've not felt like anything is pressing on my ears or making the experience uncomfortable. Now, before I actually show you what these glasses can do, I want to talk to you about this mobile dock. Now, the mobile dock is designed to be used with the Switch 2 primarily, so you can basically do couch co-op play. Now, I don't have a Switch 2, so enjoy the stock footage. But it also has the added benefit of basically being the hub for the Luma Pro by allowing for it to be the power bank for the glasses. You could have these in your bag, in your pocket, or even just on your desk, which is how I currently use it at the moment. And the way it works is very simple. In fact, I've got it right here. So what you do is you can plug a HDMI cable in, you can plug your switch in, and then you can plug up to 2 pairs of these glasses in. And not just these glasses, you can use any of the Viture glasses within their range. And basically it means that everyone can kind of watch a movie together or share and indulge in content together. Now, if you're on a plane, for example, having this just, in your pocket or in front of you or in your bag and having 2 pairs of glasses plugged in means that you can watch a movie with someone without disturbing people around you. Now, Viture probably won't like me saying this. Whilst I think this is amazing and extremely useful, like obviously, especially if you've got a Switch, this is a must. For me, I haven't really needed to use this that much yet. Because I don't have a Switch and because I plug this cable directly into my phone or my Mac, I haven't actually needed to use this. But I know for a fact if I was traveling or going anywhere at all, I would absolutely rely on this. Now, you may have just noticed that I mentioned that this kind of acts like a bit of a battery pack for these. Well, the Luma Pro doesn't actually have an internal battery and it doesn't need one. In fact, it just uses power from any device it's plugged into. For example, more recently since I've got these, I've spent a couple of hours a day just watching Netflix, and all I simply do, in fact, let me just unplug it from my computer. There we go. All I do is just plug this into the bottom of my phone, like so. And there we go. You may have noticed then that these went darker. So at the moment it's in like a tinted mode. So basically it darkens up the room so you can see media content very easily. So if you're watching a movie like on Netflix, it doesn't allow as much external light in to interrupt your viewing experience. But if I just tap the button on the side, I'm in full pass-through mode now. So I can see you, I can still see my content, but I can also see the room around me. And also because there's no earphones in my ears, I can hear everything around me. It doesn't eat away at loads of battery. And to be honest, I really don't understand how. Now, when talking about some of the hardware here, and we will get into a little bit more info on that, but there's actually software that we need to talk about, which is really cool. So there's something called SpaceWalker. Now, SpaceWalker can be used as an application on your phone or an application on your Mac. And what it allows you to do is basically have your own UI and media interface. So you can scroll through Netflix, you can scroll to Amazon Prime, you can use many different services all built into it. And your phone, when you're plugged in, your phone acts like a sort of cursor. So you can imagine like a 50 to 100 inch screen in front of you, and you're just using your phone to point in what direction and just tap in the middle like a touchpad or keypad. It's really intuitive to use, and I'll be brutally honest, when I first got this out of the box, I just plugged everything in, downloaded SpaceWalker, and I didn't really need the instructions. I do recommend reading instructions, make sure you understand how everything works properly, but you don't need to. It's really, really intuitive to use. And I think before we talk more about the specs on this, I just want to talk about something that's really important. So when it comes to tech, that's things like wearables, I find that 99.9% of wearable tech interrupts with your day-to-day experience. Like, it feels like you're wearing something. And the second you do that, and the second you're aware of it being on your face, it makes it a lot harder to integrate it into your daily life. And I've always, you may have seen for a while on live streams and stuff, I've always been a proponent of wearable tech is something that doesn't really have a place in gaming tech. And I'm going to eat humble pie for this and say I was wrong. Like, this is one of the pieces of tech, because it looks like sunglasses, it doesn't draw too much attention like from other people. People aren't going to be looking at you weird, but you can also just sit on a bus, sit on a train, be on a plane, you can do whatever, and you can just have these on your head and you can consume media. You can watch Netflix, you can watch films. Well, to be honest, anything that your phone can display, so can these. But the quality of the displays you're looking at, it's not 4K, it's 1200p, but because it's 1200p, like that close to your face being projected outwards, so it looks like it's over there, it looks like it's 4K. And my kind of general litmus test is asking people to try it. So I've had friends and family all try these on, and they've all been absolutely blown away with how all of this fits into a pair of glasses. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Now, this brings me on to the two most impressive things about the Viture Luma Pro. So firstly, we have the visual quality. With a 1200p resolution display inside, it feels like you're actually watching like a 100-inch 4K TV. The technology being used here is phenomenal, and there is no other wearable piece of tech that even comes remotely close to this. I will fight that one until I'm blue in the face. Now, something else that Viture have told me is that the image is 50% sharper than the normal Viture Pros. Now, the normal Viture Pros, which is their last model, they were already the sharpest ones in the industry, and these are genuinely very sharp. Now, I can't compare it to the Viture Pros. I've never tried them, but one thing I will say is when watching, for example, recently I've been watching Prison Break, and when they were filming that, there's a lot of filmic styles that they use. For example, there's a lot of film grain, and you can see the individual film grain across the screen and all of that, and it's stuff that you only really notice on an OLED TV. Which brings me to another point. Technically, these screens inside here, they act like a form of an OLED monitor. Now, if you look at an OLED TV, which may cost you, for like a 100-inch OLED TV, we're talking in the many thousands. Because these are technically see-through, if you're in a dark room, the black colors are true black. It's not like an artificial black. So you're getting the equivalent of an OLED 100-inch TV just by putting these on. I think that's the only way that I could really describe it. And I'm not sure if that is actually 100% correct, but that's exactly how it looks. Now, the next really impressive thing, and it's insanely impressive, is the audio quality. So these have little speakers on the side, and they're Harman speakers. So obviously absolutely insane quality, but that's the thing that really throws you off. Obviously, visually, it looks beautiful watching Netflix or watching films through these. But the thing that really confuses me and really makes you feel like you're in a cinema is the speakers on the side. Now, the speakers are really powerful at close range. They have a lot of low end, and to be honest, throughout the whole frequency range, they appear to be relatively balanced. It's not just a case of like watching movies. You can listen to music through these very comfortably, and it doesn't feel like you've got some, like, I don't know, cheap headphones on or something. It feels like you're wearing, I wouldn't say AirPods, but it feels like you're wearing some really comfortable open back speakers. Now, what's also really impressive is if you have the volume turned up all the way, of course, other people are going to hear it, but you can have the volume set to like 25% or 50%, and the actual bleed off range away from your ears is quite significant. So if someone sat maybe a couple of feet away from you and you've got your volume at 25 or 50%, they're not really going to be able to hear what's going on. Maybe if the room was dead silent, they would. But for example, on an aeroplane, these are not going to be intrusive, or if you're sat like in a shared working space, or to be honest, I shouldn't say this, but maybe even in school, no one around you is going to notice that this is a thing. Like, no one's going to notice that you're not just wearing a pair of glasses. I mean, maybe if they look close enough, they'll see some of the inside screens, but what I'm trying to say is this isn't invasive tech. It's not coming and disturbing the people around you in exchange for giving you value, which is something that's very hard to find from wearable tech. Now, the next huge positive thing that I want to talk about with these glasses is the comfort. Now, I did touch on it before. There is a couple of downsides to this product, and we will get onto those, and I'm saving those for the end because they're things that I think they need to maybe fix in the future. But the comfort is something that I've always struggled with. My Meta Quest 3, for example, I can't wear that. It's just too much. It grabs your head. There's a big bulky weight at the front. It doesn't make gaming enjoyable. You're dealing with so many compromises. You're dealing with discomfort, a relatively low resolution display. You're dealing with the fact that you've got like a full-on light directly in front of your eyes beaming into your brain. It's not an enjoyable wearing experience using things like the Meta Quest 3. Whereas with these, I can sit with these on my face for probably maybe 3 or 4 hours at a time. And because I've got the focus dialed in, there's zero eye strain. I've not felt pain in my eyes. Now, I'm short-sighted, so normally if I'm not here, I'm wearing glasses. And for some glasses to come along that aren't prescription but still allow me to enjoy a piece of media content without the need to wear glasses or anything like that is a game changer from like a day-to-day practicality point of view. But we do need to talk about some of the downsides, and to be honest, there's not a lot, but there is some. First thing is temperature. These get quite warm, like to the point where it's quite noticeable. To be clear, it's not like burning your head or like really uncomfortable. It's actually more a case of like when you go to take them off and you feel how hot they are, but a lot of the heat is actually on the outside rather than the inside against your head. So it's not like a deal breaker or really that problematic, but it is noticeable. Now, something I didn't notice, let me just unplug this. Oh, my script has disappeared. Now I'm sad. This cable, which is the one that just magnetically clips to the back of the glasses, this is a little bit annoying because it's square. So it's actually quite a sharp edge on it, and it does rub against your ear if you're not wearing these properly. Now, like I said, if you're not wearing them properly, if you actually put these down, rest them down below your ears. This actually sits just at the back of your ear and it's not that noticeable. But sometimes, for example, if I'm positioning different things around the room in SpaceWalker and I want like a script on one part of the screen, I might adjust my glasses because all the arms like rotate, they articulate, they pull in and out. So these are fully adjustable to any head size. Sometimes when I'm making some of those adjustments, I have to position the glasses in a slightly weird way, not because of anything wrong with the glasses, but because of just the way I have my setup. But this doesn't accommodate for that. That's a problem. If that was round, like a bean shape, no problem at all. So to round off this video, I think that this is definitely the most useful piece of tech I've ever used. Also, it's not like ridiculously expensive either. I know if you've been watching my gaming content, I always talk about things like value for money. For me, this is a no-brainer from a business perspective. But even if I wasn't a YouTuber and I wanted to buy a really cool piece of tech, this would be, at the moment, probably position 1 or 2 at the top of the list. This is the best way, and I mean this, and this isn't because like I've spoke to Viture and there's some sort of relationship there. This is the coolest tech I've tried in at least the last 3 years. Now there's a whole different set of tools that this thing has. You can view 3D content through these glasses. So loads of movies are filmed in 3D and they have like a left camera and a right camera angle, and you can view that through these glasses. There's so much stuff that these things can do that in the couple of weeks I've been using them, I haven't had a chance to really explore all of them. And to be honest, you don't need to. If you just put these on just to watch a movie, you're gonna have a good experience. I'm just impressed. That's all I've got to say. I'm really impressed by these, and I think you will be too. There is, of course, links down below. They've given me like special links because obviously they've sent me these glasses, but they haven't paid me to say anything. And I don't earn a commission off any of those. It's not like I'm not getting paid for any of that, but I do think that if you go and check these out, you'll enjoy them. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Hey. Emotional trauma with a prima donna, gasping when she see the commas, laughing to conceal the monsters. I feel like Kanye when he lost his Donda. When my father left me, you were there to heal the pain I conquered. I never pay you back for what that meant to me. Some scars just fade physically, but never leave mentally. It's where were people's spirits?